Hello, BookTube, and welcome to Audible August. It's a reading event happening in August here, created by Gareth at Books, Music, and Other Magic. And it's a month of reading to do with music, something to do with music, either um, fiction, it could be even be fiction that's written by a singer or musician, biographies of any musician, and I decided because I wanted an excuse to revisit this. It was a series trilogy of shows that were made in the 1980s. The Beiderbeck Affair, the Beiderbeck Tapes, and the Beiderbeck Connection. And it stars James Boland as Trevor Chaplin, and Barbara Flynn as Jill Swinburne, and Dudley Sutton as Mr. Carter. Now, Trevor is a woodworking teacher at a high school, and Jill is an English teacher there. She's recently-ish divorced, and they sort of grew together as he was giving her lifts to and from the school. And they have an interesting relationship. And Trevor is a jazz fanatic. He doesn't really do anything else. Well, football, I guess. Jazz and football are his passions. And he likes records. So this is obviously before 78s. Sorry, after 78s, but before CDs. And he's always on the lookout for jazz CDs, and specifically he's been looking for a 4-volume Bix Beiderbecke, who was a clarinet player who died actually August 6, 1931, and his playing was described as sound like shots from a bell. He was a fabulous player, and Saturday, while I did some other stuff, I streamed a lot of his music, and it was really fun getting reacquainted with Bix. And in the show, this was written specifically for the TV show, 6 episodes, and he buys some records. He finally gets some records, and it's interesting. They're sort of black and I think sort of yellowish in their Bixology. I used to have a whole bunch of those records, and it was just fun to see them again. And then it was written by Alan Platter, who is a jazz fanatic, or was a jazz fanatic as well. And so the novelization was done after the first episode. I was gonna watch first and then read, but I didn't. I read and then watched. But I will be reading and watching the last 2 because he wrote the books first for these. And he just had it's just wonderful, like wonderful dialogue. Like, it's a bit of a mystery where he orders these albums and he gets stuff like pipe organ or something like that. He doesn't get the jazz albums he wants, so he has to search for the blonde bombshell that sort of came knocking on his door, and he gets mixed up with her brothers because Big Al. And they're sort of this is 1980s northern England, so it's during the Thatcher era, so almost depression time, recession, and they show that in the depleted sort of area, and it just run down areas of the town that they're in. And Big Al and others, like, he's lost his job, so he's trying to make ends meet, so he's got a mail order service, and he does all sorts of other stuff. So he finally tracks him down, but then there's something else going on here. There's another mystery. Jill is running for counselor, and Trevor's old flame shows up, and her family, her father's trying to do something. It's a bit weak on the plot. Let's put it that way. It's not the best plotted out story, but that's not the charm of this, the series, the episodes, or the book. It's the dialogue. It's the atmosphere that it's giving, and there's just some very, very funny things. It's like every time there's a guy and he goes, it was a man and his dog. The man was Harry, and the man's name was Harry, and the dog's name was Jason. So, and then when they sort of do things, and Trevor, they say over and over again in the book, it's not as good in the show. I think he tweaked it a little bit, which really worked. And he said, I know them. His name is Jason. And then immediately they ask, oh, and what's the man's name? They don't know. It's just an automatic response that as soon as he says Jason, well, that can't be the man's name. It's obviously the dog's name. So what's the man's name? Oh, I don't know. And it's just, and the sparkling dialogue, like they talk about Big Beiderbeck's playing is like a bullet shot from a bell, so crisp and clear. And some of their dialogue back and forth, their banter dialogue is that way. It's so good. It's just sort of, comfort reading. It's comfort food for the mind. It's so good. I've never read these before. I've always liked the series. James Boland is great, and Barbara Flynn is just wonderful as Jill. Just wonderful. And they're just a fabulous couple, unconventional, but just fabulous. And there's all sorts of stuff. There's other jokes that go through. It's like, what are you doing here? Well, in the words of Spike Milligan's, everybody's got to be somewhere. And it's just, and they call it like, the name of the school is the unofficial name is San Quentin High. And he teaches woodwork, as I say, and it's just most of the kids seem to be fairly thick that he's teaching. And there's Mr. Carter that shows up all the time, who's interested in their sort of relationship, and there's a lot of sexual innuendo and just that kind of stuff, and it's really good, but it's done cleverly. It's not overdone. It's like done. It's not crude. That's what I'm thinking of. It's not crude. It's just done cleverly. And the interesting thing is that the actor, after watching this, again, it's like I had a hankering to watch Lovejoy, because Dudley Sutton, who plays Mr. Carter, was on Lovejoy, and it was a fabulous show. And I think there's a whole bunch of books as well. It's a pseudonym of, I can't remember the guy. I think it's Jonathan Gash. It was coming to me now, but yeah, it just made me want to watch something else again as well. They are just so wonderful. It's sorry, I've used that word many times, but that is the simple way to put it, because they're comfort food for the brain, and I can just sort of slide into it. And I'm going to reread these definitely again at some later date. There's something that I can sit down and even dip into, just read little sections of it. I know I won't even need to read it from cover to cover, but they're very, very fast reads. It's like 200 and what was it? Just over 200 pages long, or just 200 pages long, and I could read this in an after, like a novel in the afternoon. There's 3 of them in here. But yeah, so anyway, What are you reading for? Or if are you doing Audible August? And what are you reading? Um, and I'm hoping that I can read a bio of Bix Beiderbeck as well, but that's iffy. I have a lot of stuff that I need to read and do, and it's getting hot this week again, and my brain is just it's melting. My brain is melting. Anyway, I'll see you next time, BookTube. Take care.